Now, we at WION have been continuously tracking the India-Canada standoff. And in the latest, the US, along with the Five Eyes partners, reportedly shared intelligence that led Canada to allege a potential Indian hand in the killing of the Khalistani terrorist Hardeep Singh Nijjar. Now, Nijjar was killed in Canada's Vancouver in June this year. And to talk more on this, we have with us Professor David Dunn, Professor of International Politics, University of Birmingham. Thank you so much for joining us on WION, Professor.
Good morning.
Right, and Professor, for starters, help us explain what exactly are the Five Eyes group partners and how do they function?
Okay, so the Five Eyes group is the US, UK, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, the largest intelligence sharing network in the world. It dates from World War II, when these partners shared information as part of the war effort, and it's been extended from 1946 gradually almost to include all the English-speaking democracies in that alliance as now as formed. And basically, they divide up the world into different regions, collect information there, and share it on a reciprocal basis accordingly. And as such, they have the most sophisticated intelligence gathering and indeed espionage network anywhere in the world.
Right, Professor. Now, US Ambassador to Canada, David Cohen, has said that the information did not come from Canada alone, but from the Five Eyes partner. What is your assessment?
It's very interesting that should be the case and that this should be communicated in this way. First of all, the initial reports were that the Canadians had picked this up from Indians operating in Canada. But this statement that actually that was the Five Eyes partners indicates that it was communication between the Indians in Canada back to India. And as part of that, the communication across the world would have been picked up, perhaps from the big British listening base in Cyprus or from an American source elsewhere. But clearly, the indication here is that the message has been sent to the Indians. If you get up to skullduggery, we know what you're doing because we have the means of doing so. So know that if you keep doing things like this, we will find out about it and we will expose you and we will embarrass you. It's interesting that they chose the American envoy in Ottawa to release this information rather than it come from Biden or Blinken in Washington itself, because in a sense that they're allowing this to be still a local affair, but nevertheless given the indication of American disapproval and indeed that knowledge that America has the means to intercept and share that information, and therefore trying to act as a deterrent against India doing something similar like this again.
Absolutely, Professor. I was just coming to that this crucial piece of information was given out by the US envoy to Canada rather than coming out, from the White House or the Pentagon, because the Blinken has clearly said that India should rather help Canada in the ongoing probe.
Absolutely. I mean, the United States is trying to come much closer to India for a whole variety of strategic reasons, not least the concern about the ambitions of China in the Pacific area, and yet at the same time, it's concerned to uphold human rights standards, and the murder of alleged murder of a Canadian citizen by a foreign power is of great concern to basic ideas of sovereignty as well as human rights and the like. So the Americans are trying to play a delicate path here, not being overly critical of India, but at the same time making their point felt and made that actually this is unacceptable behavior.
Absolutely, and this is also the first admission by any US government official about sharing of intelligence by the Five Eyes partners with Canada, like we were speaking about, even when there were multiple unofficial and non-official reports about the same.
Yes, it's a very fuzzy area, the Five Eyes agreement, in terms of actually its status in the world. By its nature, it's about security, it's about eavesdropping, it's about sharing intelligence, it's about coordinating espionage activities. So it's not one that's openly talked about very much. And it's an indication of the seriousness of this issue that they actually used this occasion to acknowledge the fact that sharing goes on. But as I say, it's about deterring people from doing things, in a sense, putting it out there that if you do these things, we will find out about it, we will embarrass you, and therefore don't do it.
Absolutely. Let's also talk about relations between both the countries. Trudeau's accusations on Niger's death has clearly snowballed into a major diplomatic crisis with New Delhi and Ottawa. How do you see relations between both the countries going forward?
Well, again, I mean, this is a serious issue, but it's not fatal to their overall bilateral relationship because there are many more other issues of greater importance between Canada and India and between the wider Western world as a whole. So there are symbolic statements of disapproval, the sending home of diplomats, the interference of issuing of visas between the two countries. But this is not going to be fatal to the relationship more broadly going forward. But it's clear that Canada has gone beyond the private criticisms and complaints that it made to India over this issue and feels that Delhi's complete denial of this warrants them actually taking a public position, and a public position which is in a sense verified by the American intelligence, actually embarrassing Delhi and showing that actually this did happen and there's multiple sources of evidence to support it. But it's a way of sort of wrapping India's knuckles without necessarily it being fatal to the overall relationship.
I was just coming to that, Professor Dunn. Like, while India has time and again asked for credible evidence, like Trudeau mentioned in the parliament, but in spite of asking it again and again, Canada says that it is in public domain, but it has clearly given no specifics till now. It's been like over a week since the incident took place.
Yeah, well, this is India grabbing at a fig leaf on this occasion, because India knows very well that the Five Eyes and Canada will not share information with India because of the nature of that information and how it has been obtained. So in a sense, it's saying, okay, it wasn't us. You can't prove it, therefore it wasn't us. But actually, everyone seems to know that given the sources of information, given the credibility of the Five Eyes community, given the fact that America is backing up Canada on this, that there is evidence, and that even though it won't be shared, that they have clear indications of what went on.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Professor, for joining us on WION. We'll, of course, be tracking the relations between India and Canada and the standoff very closely here on WION. But thanks very much for joining us and sharing your insights on this.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.